know where the treats at.
Is this the passing of the torch, right? Is this what this signifies?
It comes down to that front office and what they feel is most important.
The champ is here. We've touched down from a higher plane. Why you landed here?
We always look forward to that week because it was always intense.
You know that we ain't coming back. We about to.
The man, the myth, the legend, Dante Hall. My favorite player growing up was Dante Hall. I love you guys in the show, but Dante was my guy.
Get to dashing because you done on the warfield.
This episode of Chief Concerns is brought to you by BetOnline.AG.
And we're back and better than ever. A new web interface for the rest of the NBA season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BLEAV 50, to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Big dog, what's up, man?
Talk to me. How y'all doing?
How you doing, Priest?
Good evening. How's it going, Marcus?
Good. It's honestly an honor to be able to talk to you. And when Eric said you were coming on, I was like, holy crap. I was like, Priest Holmes is coming on.
Hold on, Priest. JD's just not trying to log in.
Okay.
JD claimed that you were late more than he was during your time with the Chiefs.
Well, you see what happens after about 15 years.
What's up, Priest?
JD, what's going on?
I already knew Priest wasn't going to be out here already. I know he's going to be about 5-10 minutes late. I already know that.
Yeah.
But JD, hold on. He was on there before me, and I clocked in at 6:59.
Oh, really?
Ready to go.
What's up, 3-1? What's going on with you?
Oh, not too much. Y'all guys are looking really good on the other side of that camera, though. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, Priest.
Hey,
yeah. So we try to get the right
good being an athlete, man. I guess some of this stuff has helped, with our aging, because I do realize that we don't look as old as a lot of our. I look at some of my high school friends, and it's like they look. I don't know who's watching it, but I know some of them look like grandparents right now. Even though they might be, but it's like what are you doing to yourselves to be aging so bad?
Well, I can tell you this. We just had our 30-year anniversary for our football team. We went to state. Unfortunately, we did not win state. We played Odessa Permian. It was a great game, but this was 30 years out, so we had a chance to gather together too. So I'm not going to throw anybody underneath the bus because I can tell you what, after 10 to 15 years being in retirement, the body definitely talks, and it's taught me a few lessons. I think every year that I've gone back to the doctor to get my annual checkup, there's always another thing that they're adding to the list. Low vitamin D, neuropathy. You just think of the different things that can happen, and it's just been a learning. It's just been a learning cycle for me to understand that the body does age, and that regardless of how strong and how dominant you once were, Father Time has a way of slowing you down.
That is true. But I'll admit, though, you do look good, man. So whatever you are doing, continue doing it, and many blessings to you.
Well, I'm telling you what, I might need to update my computer because I want that filter that JD got on his camera right there.
Oh, yeah, Priest, it's just good living right here, Priest. That's all. Good living, and a little bit of that, the little lights, what I'm saying, to kind of bring it out a little bit more, so.
But Priest, he is about 3+ now, so.
No, I'm not now. Hold on, I'm not there. See, look, we talking about guys looking younger. See, he be coming out here with that Superman beard, what I'm saying, all darkened out. Boy, you be coming out here, boy.
Got a little salt and pepper. Got a little bit of salt and pepper in there, E.
Yeah.
Hey, I am what I am.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you can tell when that joke about to hit up on town, though. We about to go out of town? He looked like he been 2003
Yeah. I know that's right.
So is you back? You still in San Antonio?
Yeah, here in San Antonio, we just had the coaches convention, so had a chance to connect with several coaches across the country. Sammy Parker, you remember Sammy Parker played
I
receiver?
saw Sammy posted a picture of you and him on Instagram.
Yeah. So Sammy was there. We had a chance to connect. So it was really good just getting a chance to connect with everyone. The Trust had a breakout session for 2 days. So that's what I participated in.
Okay.
Now, being on the Trust, does that keep you busy?
Well, the Trust event was open to all former players. So it wasn't that my participation was based on job duties. It was just me, everyone coming to San Antonio, making sure, I'm there, get a chance to touch base and see if I can see any of the guys there. On the NFLPA platform, I do a lot more on that end in terms of some of the officer positions.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, JD.
What's your role down there, Priest? We said with the NFLPA down there.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, I was elected as the executive chairman. And then I also served locally with the San Antonio Austin chapter. I've served in every officer position from president, vice president, secretary to officer. We started our chapter here locally in 2010. We had about 35 former players. We did not have a chapter at that time. Of course, most of the cities do not have chapters. There's 34 cities across the country that has chapters. And believe it or not, Kansas City just brought on their first NFLPA chapter this year.
Wow.
So JD, do y'all have a chapter in Kentucky?
We have a chapter in Cincinnati. So I still got to drive like an hour and a half to get up here in Cincinnati. So the three that I have around me, actually the two, is Cincinnati, and then you have Tennessee, you have Nashville. And so those
Did you participate in any of it?
With COVID, I've been doing like some of the Zoom meetings. And so like what Priest was saying too, like when I was, doing the coaches, I go to the coaches conventions and whatnot. The Trust puts on a lot of good things, man, for former players. I think a lot of guys just don't really tap into it just to see what I actually have to provide. And so I try to get, involved as much as possible. A lot of guys, I play with some guys down at EKU that live up in Cincinnati now that get into it even more. But man, I tell you what, man, this like what Priest is kind of talking about, we as former players, we need to get more involved in these things, just kind of, showing our face, just kind of being out there even more than what we not, than most guys been doing. Put it that way.
Keep going. I got to knock at my door.
All right. So Priest, man, are you coaching now? You said you went to the coaches convention.
So I went to coaches convention. I'm not actually a coach.
Okay.
Time commitment that it takes to be a coach and the sacrifice that is needed. I feel like I made that sacrifice during my 11-year career. What I will do is participate in all-star games. I'll come out and coach with some of the camps. I still like to participate, but as far as having the long haul over the course of a year and committing to a team, obviously that's something that I do not have an opportunity to participate in. But like I said, I came just to make sure that I could connect with some of the players that was there. I had a chance to meet with Sammy Parker. There was several other players that I had a chance to connect with that I had played with also in Baltimore. Tyrich McLeod, I had a chance. We were both rookies back in 1997 with the Baltimore Ravens. Had a chance to connect with him. I hadn't seen him since 2000. So that's 20 plus years. And now, we're much older now and had a chance to just connect. It's one of those things where once you get involved and you start participating in these different functions and chapters and committees, you get a chance to connect with people across the country. So that's what I really like doing it for. Yeah.
I agree with you, man. That's such a wonderful thing, man. Just to, go back and see guys that you haven't seen in a long time. He said it's been 20 years since you seen it, man. I know just the smile on your face, both of y'all, just seeing each other, man, was just, I'm sure, just brought a lot of joy to each other.
Well, not only that, it was just some of the stories that Tyrus and I was able to share. We talked about when we first got there and how one of the first things that I was told by Ted Marchibroda, who was one of the oldest coaches at the time in Baltimore, he told me, he said, Priest, I'm going to tell you this, the only way you're going to make this team is through special teams. And this entire year, you will not touch the football in the game. Now, you'll touch it every day for everybody's reps in practice. You're going to take everybody's reps in practice, but you will not touch the pigskin during the game. And he did keep his word on that. And at the time, we had Bam Morris, which was the starting running back, and Ernest Biner as the third down back. And so I was actually fortunate to be on a team at that time. And I know we're talking about Baltimore Ravens, one of the first teams that I played with, but when I played with Ernest Biner, he was the first person as a vet to tell me there's a difference between a professional football player and a football player. And he says the football player is going to show up, he's going to have fun, he's going to look at the books, and only going to take the time out during your breakout sessions or during your meetings that he has to go to and attend. But your professional football player, he's going to find the time to do the cold bath. He's going to come in and do the extra stretching. He's going to also participate in more film study when he goes back to the house. So I learned that in my first 4 dark years, as I call them. And then I think I saw the light when I got to Kansas City, you know.
That was definitely you, man. I remember one time I went to your house and you were kind of showing me around. You go up to the bedroom. Priest had dumbbells right next to the bed. Said he had to rip them out before he go to bed.
Yeah, I had a great time in Kansas City. And I could tell you one thing you was going to find out in my house was one thing. There wasn't going to be a lot of furniture. I didn't really waste time with any of the necessities or the things that, one might find themselves to indulge with when they have an opportunity to play in a professional football game. But for me, it was just a matter of just making sure I had the bare essentials to make sure all of my focus went on being one of the best running backs in the league at that time. So we've had some fun, though. Incredible years that I was there. And I remember he actually lived not too far from me. He had the big house. I had the smaller house.
We did have some fun, though, man. I keep telling everybody, like, the craziest game that I was a part of was in college. And, we went out to first Big 12 game and we played you guys, and everybody was expecting Ricky to come out and just run all over us. And we just shut Ricky down. I'm talking about completely shut Ricky down. And every time they brought in this little dude, Priest, that nobody really know who he was, just up and down the field. We had no idea. And Priest just ran all over us. So that was my first loss. No, that wasn't my first loss. My first loss was Arizona State. And that was the second loss of my college career, was to Priest in Texas.
Yeah, E, when you talk about that game, the first Big 12 championship, and we came from the Southwest Conference, with the University of Texas. And, just to be able to be on that stage with Nebraska at that time. And we know of all the accolades that Nebraska had and the championships that they rolled in there with. But, for us, it was one of those situations where all the attention was on Ricky. All of the attention was on Sean Mitchell. Sean Mitchell was a junior transfer that it came in the year prior before that with Ricky when he was a freshman. And Sean Mitchell had came from Blinn as a junior transfer. Yeah. So all the attention really was on those two guys. I had tore my ACL prior to that rookie year of Ricky coming in. So Ricky and I didn't play together his freshman year. I came back for my senior year, and then what ended up happening was, how are we going to figure out to get 3 of these backs on the field during a game? And I can tell you this, Bucky Godbolt was the running back coach at that time. He said, we're going to get Sean Mitchell and give him the ball back on the 20. And, Sean had the ability to break at least an 80-yard, a 60-yard at any given time. He had that type of speed. If he didn't get it within 1 or 2 plays in that series, the ball would be given to Ricky. Ricky would get it down to the red zone. If Ricky did not score, that was the only time I was going to see any kind of pay dirt, so that was the only time I was going to be in the game. So if Ricky knew if he came up shy anywhere by that 25-yard line and he didn't score, believe me, if you give me the ball, I'm getting in the end zone. So I had a chance to practice that early on in my, or later on in my college career, my collegiate career. So then when we got to the league, that knack for getting in the end zone, I had already been preparing. I had already been practicing that. I was already very comfortable about being under pressure, because I knew if I didn't score, the ball was going back to Ricky for him to get the score. So
it wasn't even your goal line runs again in that Texas game. You were breaking long runs on us.
Well, a lot of it had to also do with the attention was on Ricky at that time.
Yeah, that's where our game plan was at.
Yeah, and then, Coach Vermeil, he also commentated that game as well. Yeah. And I heard a story years later where he came up to John Makovic at that time, who was the head coach, and he asked Makovic, and he said, who's going to be the star of this game? And Makovic said, I know everyone is thinking Ricky Williams, but there's a senior running back named Anthony Holmes, which is everyone called me back in that time. And then they said he's going to be the star of this game. And it was one of those things that, going into the game, we had no idea what that game was going to look like. We knew what the pressure was to go up against the Nebraska Cornhuskers, but I know we had to have E and all them eat a little corn after that game, you know.
Hey man, we had some dogs though back on that team. So and we really shut y'all guys down until only when you got in and got the ball. And then there was that 1 4th down play that y'all went for that kind of put the stamp on it. So that was basically what ended it for us. But yeah, Priest came in and it was lights out.
Yeah,
we had nothing game plan. And I think we had a couple of guys from Texas that told us that were on our team that we had recruited from Texas, from the state of Texas. So they were like, man, y'all got to be aware of this Priest guy. So we're like, we don't know Priest.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have any film on him. And so our game plan was just to shut down, I forget the quarterback's name.
James Brown.
James Brown. So we just had to shut down because James Brown, a mobile quarterback, and Priest. Not Priest, but Ricky Williams. So going in, we were doing our job. All of a sudden, it was you wore 33, right?
I wore 33, and anytime I was in the game, it was going to be a 2-back set. So the majority of any game, even that entire year, like I said, once Sean came out the game, it was a matter of putting Ricky in the eye or putting Ricky in the single back position and then letting him do his thing, which he came in an incredible talent coming out of California. So he definitely had the ability then, man. And, obviously we saw what he was able to do in terms of the records that he broke after leaving, on his way to leaving college. But, it's just one of those things where you have an opportunity, you take advantage of it. I've always been able to play very strong in that underdog role. I understand that. I'm very comfortable in that position. So all of the adversity that I think someone would say that I was up against, it was adversity that I was very comfortable with dealing at the time. So
yeah, you know what's a Priest, and you saying that it always seems like that's the common theme. I didn't even know it's about like as far as how it happened down in Texas, but then all of a sudden you get over to Baltimore with the Ravens, like you said, man, you got Ernest Byer. Shoot, you got Jamal Lewis. I mean, you got all these guys right there that's lining up. You know how it is. Every time you come into camp, you're always measuring guys up, right? You always want to see what a guy can do, and it's always some of the guys that you ain't quite looking to be that guy. And then all of a sudden, you go out there, man. You absolutely light it on fire with Baltimore there when you get to the Super Bowl and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, we get a chance to get you over at the Chiefs, right? And so when Coach Mill. See, and that is a good story. I didn't even know that as far as like you said, Coach Mill asked about who was this guy right here who's going to, be the guy who's going to win the game for you. But finally, we get you over to Kansas City. You come in, number 3-1. We call you the Galloping Ghost. That's what we call you. So that's in the tight end room and some of the, the guys, we call you the Galloping Ghost because I think it's just a combination of, like you said, maybe that adversity, that work ethic that you have. That when you come out there, there's this passion, this thirst that every time like you run the football, like you run with like authority. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like it's gonna be your last carry. And sometimes when people ask me as far as like blocking for you, I said, man, Priest made it look easy. I mean, he made it easy for us. He said, well, you do your job. I said, look, by the time I was getting my hands on a guy, Priest was past me. And so I say that's just as guy that's blocking for a running back. To see a running back hit the hole and just get past you, and then not only just get past you, I'm talking about secondary, already in the secondary, making some moves. That, man, is the greatest feeling I could possibly see. And then, of course, like I said, when I seen you do it a lot of times, 3-1, I seen you do it a lot of times, Priest. But, man, I just kind of talk on that a little bit as far as, like, I know you was, saying about the adversity you had to deal with, but what was it that drove you just besides, like, just being an underdog role? What was your mindset just coming to the games? What was you thinking?
Well, I can talk about that. I really can, JD, and I appreciate you giving me my roses while I'm still alive, man. I appreciate that.
You big on
me. If I get an opportunity to step foot at the Hall of Fame, I'm gonna make sure I have you talking for me. You got me hype over here. So, one of the things I think a lot of people didn't kind of underestimated me is that I was always a student of the game, always sitting back, watching, comparing myself and watching film. I played with the likes of Ricky Williams, Bam Morris, Eric Rhett, you remember from Tampa Bay, and he came over to the Baltimore Ravens as well. I played 2 years with Rhett. We also had Jamal Lewis. So I have always had a number of backs that looked completely different than I did in the pads. And gained and garnered their own type of dominance when they played the game. And I actually watched how these guys could command, control of the game, the ground game when they would run the ball. But outside of just being a student of the game, one of the things that always stood out to me is that X's and O's. I've always said I'm an X and O guy, and all my entire life, a dry erase board and X's and O's and a dry erase mark has always been my passion, my love, right? So a lot of people never realize this about me is that when we were making up those plays in the running back meeting and in the offensive meeting, the thing that I always lived for was to see if I can actually draw up a play, make it X's and O's, and actually execute it exactly how it looks on the paper. Now on the paper, it's clean. You just got X's and O's. You have these lines that go through, and it's a perfect play. If it's supposed to go 30, it goes 30. If it's supposed to go 2 yards, it goes 2 yards. But we know that's not the reality once the ball is hiked. But my passion always was trying to always seek for that clean play. We drew it up exactly like this. The play is supposed to get this amount of yards, and if JD hooks that defensive end, right, or he pushes them out, it's going to be a big play. So in search of that all my life, in my entire 11-year career, searching that, I found that I was able to make a play like that along with my linemen and the other offensive players. But it's something that's always very difficult to do. It's almost impossible to get just that perfect play. And if that was the one thing that I always searched for and yearned for, that's what always kept that passion for me to continue to play. And most people probably, they would never even know that when I was lining up to play football, was finding that perfect play.
I tell you what, you made them look perfect, man, because, I get what you're saying, being a student of the game, but Priest, we all know that there's a lot of so-called running backs that are not as gifted as others. And you had that knack for knowing where a defender was coming from, how to hit a hole instinctively to make plays larger than what they really were. As a defender on the same team, dog, it was so much fun to watch you and D Hall whenever y'all got the ball in your hand. And so I'm blessed, very happy to have had the privilege to play alongside of you. I wish, God knows every bone in my body, I wish we had the defense to compliment you guys during our run in Kansas City, because we had a hell of a fire team there, man.
Yeah, when you talk about defense and, the time I spent in Baltimore, I had a chance to, play alongside Ray Lewis, go against him my rookie season as a tackling dummy every play. And you couldn't, if you wanted to go after a starting defensive player, you knew you couldn't, especially as a rookie. But when we got to Baltimore, regardless of how, things played out, I think that we had a wonderful time, man. And, the opportunity and the success and the history that we were able to lay in front of the guys that are now playing today, man, I think it took a lot out of us, and it meant a lot. I mean, nothing in this world is perfect, right? But true. I'm telling you what, man, the opportunities, the relationships, and opportunities to play along with you guys, man, was something that I'll never forget, man. And so, I can tell you again, I remember when we were playing Indianapolis, and they let E play Indianapolis. I said, man, what the hell they got E out there playing with that back? But regardless of that, man, we all had shortcomings. There were times where I had my injuries, at times where it seemed like I was plagued with injuries, where I had the MCL in 2004 and then come back in 2005 and then have the neck injury. It was always, it seemed like it was always something, that didn't allow us at times to really connect and put things together. But we did have something special, man. We did show that during that time. And for us to come in there 01, 02, and then build up to 03 and put together what we did in that particular year, man, that was something special.
It was.
Priest, man, but I could always tell you was a cerebral guy anyway, and I think a lot of it, like you said, the compensation of like the work ethic, toughness, intelligence, going into an X and O's guy. And see, as a blocker, you can definitely see that, because especially, in the offensive side of the ball, this is like when we're making the blocks, like you said, everything's supposed to work in order like it should, right? And so like he said, man, you made it, you made it look like you drew it up. And so that was the great thing about it. When people used to ask me, what's the difference between Priest and Larry and their running style? Okay. I said, well, look, I said, Priest is a muscle. Okay. He's a muscle. Like he's built like when you look at Priest, he's a solid muscle. That's what he is, right? But number two, when he goes, he hits the hole. You don't see him. He don't really, run back and forth looking for daylight. He knows as a good running back is vision. I know that's why I was just thinking about that vision, knowing how the hole breathes at the right time and just to be right there. And it was just like that timing, man, is just what you had. And I had to say this, Spree, you were the first one I held up high and high, okay? When I used to hold the running back up in the end zone for a touchdown, you were the first one 3-1. So I just want to let you know that, man. So we just started making the tradition. I'm like, sure, keep hold this joker up, giving him, the glory, like you said, getting his roses. Let everybody just see him out here. So, you stand up, I'm gonna hold you up to about 7'5", buddy. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, that was some good times. And then, like, when you talk about LJ, I even learned a lot from LJ. His running style, his ability to run mean and mad. There were always things.
That's exactly how he ran too.
Yeah, he really did. And so one of the things that I know that he quickly had to learn is that when he came into the league, he's coming off of a 2000 year at Penn State. The likelihood for him to take over that starting position, it just seems a very natural transition to do. But again, I think when LJ got there, he was able to learn the difference between, just being a football player and being a professional football player. Once he got into the locker room with TRich and myself, and he saw how serious we took the game. And, back at that time, we're talking about, 15 years ago and plus, man, I could run up and down that field as many times as you want me to, you know what I mean? So, he then saw that part of work ethic. But, one thing I also did learn, like I said, he was able to run really mean, and he also was a very strong stature, tall, had the ability to, I'm taking 2 steps. He's on his 4th step. You know what I mean? He had that a bit, he had that ability to really stretch out those legs, man, and go the distance. And so, you always learn something. I can even go back to Jamal Lewis when I was in Baltimore. And when Jamal came in as a rookie, it was my 4th season. I had already rushed for 1,000 yards. I was the first 1,000-yard rusher for the Baltimore Ravens. I had already split time with Eric Rett when they were unsure about what they were going to do with Eric Rett. And then I come into my 4th year thinking, oh, here's an opportunity for me to go ahead and take the starting role. Well, we had a head coach at that particular time that had a different thought process. Here's what happened. So when he came in the year before, he said, I need each player to come up to my office and I want to be able to do an assessment and tell you how you're going to fit into this team. So I go into the room and I'm like, all right, coach, I'm Priest, it's my 3rd year. And he says, yep, I know everything about you. He says, but here's how you're going to fit in. He says, you do not look like this running back I want walking down my tunnel. Now, again, you have to remember, I had just rushed for 1,000 yards the year before. And here is, head coach coming in, and Brian Billick is the name at the time. And so he says, you don't look like the running back that I want walking down my tunnel. I said, well, what do they look like? And he says, well, if you look at our division, you got Jerome Bettis, you got Eddie George, you got Corey Dillon, you got Fred Taylor. All these guys are 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", 235 pounds or heavier. And he said, and then here you are, Priest, you don't look like it. You're not going to look intimidating when we run down a tunnel. So a lot of those things kind of stuck with me, and learning how, the game is also what you see on paper as well. And so it kind of goes back to what you were saying, JD, how did I, learn that ability to be able to take command when I ran? I learned that by watching the bigger backs on what they were doing and how to attack the game. And I think just the difference is when I added the X and O's and the passion behind that and studying film, it allowed me to be very dangerous. You know what I mean? So I ran with a certain authority. There's been many players that were defensive linemen, offensive linemen that met me after I retired and said, man, I never knew you were that size. I didn't know you were 5'9", 212 pounds, you ran different.
But you play a lot bigger.
Yeah, you played up, right? We called it you playing up. So, that's one of the things that I just learned how to play up, because I was always around backs that had that stature. And I learned how to, not necessarily manipulate the body, but I learned how to run with a little bit different type of passion and force, regardless of my stature.
Hey, so how do we get that kind of usage out of CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that we have for the Chiefs? I mean, because he's small in stature, He's not as muscular as you. He can't. There was rarely a time I saw you go down off one hit. It was yardage after contact. It was never losing yardage after being hit. We can't really use Clyde in a short yardage game. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like he's the type of running back that's going to give us that extra yardage or two when we need it. He's the one that you can use gimmickly, stretch offense, pass out of the backfield, but he's not that power back. You being smaller size-wise, height-wise, we're able to be in all facets of the game. Short yardage, passing game, goal line. Priest never left the game. How do you get something like that out of a CEH?
Well, first, just to his credit, he does a lot of things really well. And, again, he would not have been the man he was coming out of LSU if he didn't have that, that upside behind him. But there's some things you can't take away. When I was in Baltimore, and, I just use this as comparison for people to understand. And, talking about Claire, when I was in Baltimore, they never changed the offense to fit me. It was 3 yards in a cloud of dust because of the size of backs that they had in that AFC East. When I got to Kansas City, I finally was asked the question, Priest, what do you like to run? What works for you? And I said, if you can spread them out, spread the defense out, give me a lane, put them on a second level, a 1 and a 2 level, I'll find the second level and I'll get to it, right? But if you run me between the tackles 6 times or 7 times or 8 times, I'm probably going to win 2 or 3 times. But the majority of those wins are going to go to that defensive line. And I think I see that also in the running backs that the Chiefs have. That's the reason why I think when they put in Williams, it makes a difference, a different size running back, different size. But when you're talking about their starter, how are we going to make him, something that he's not? I don't think you can do that, and I think you should just, leverage him with his ability and put him in situations to win and put him in the offense and give him the plays that he's highly successful on. I used to keep all my stats, I used to, I was a statistician, when it came to just knowing, the odds and the ends and the tendencies of what defenses are going to do. So I would always find what are my best plays. What are the plays that I have the ability to have greater success? Put me in those plays. One thing I can tell you is that Edwards has the ability to do a jump cut that I don't think most backs can do. And I know we saw that his rookie season when he first came in, his ability to pause the defense as he attacked the line of scrimmage, and then he could jump left or right as a side step cut. It's one of those things that after you've been in the league a couple of years, the defense is always going to find a way to stop you, and they're going to neutralize you eventually, and I think that although he doesn't have the size to be able to command that presence when he's going in between the tackles, I think if they open up the offense, which they do a lot of times, and they put him on the perimeters and they give him the space and allow him to go one-on-one with the nickel package or the dime package and get him on a linebacker on the second level with the draw, I think that makes all the difference, for Edwards.
Yeah, I think he's definitely, kind of underrated as a runner. But like you said, you was kind of birthed in that fire, though. When we talk about running right downhill, like you said, it's hit 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's what the offenses was. When I was talking to EB, actually at coach's convention, we were just kind of talking. He was like, look, JD, he said, look, man, we don't run the football like we used to back in the day. We just don't. So you're not going to see a lot of guys getting 1,800 yards unless, of course, Derrick Henry, right, was going to get a lot of totes in a game. Now, Najee Harris was coming in this week. They trying to get the ball to him. So you got these certain styles of backs and offenses that want to do a little bit more power running, right? But like you said, CEH is a much better guy, kind of out in space. That's kind of what he was, he was used to at LSU, and they kind of coming up here. Like you said, in between the tackles, yeah, he may not be successful like that, right? Like you said, he doesn't have that size. And so with this type of offense, like you said, spreading him out a little bit more, he's great out of the backfield, catching balls out of the backfield, right? Swing passes, maybe even like, a couple of curls and things like that against the linebackers. That's what you want, the matchup, one-on-one. But like you said, anything like in between the tackles is going to be, really tough, for him to get. And the plus, when I'm looking at this offense, I see a lot of like that kind of delay run and little draw, just They're in the shotgun and they hand the ball off, right? I mean, you ain't coming downhill as soon as you taking a step back, now you coming. It's a little different than, with this offense where you got to sit there for a second and actually get the handoff from the quarterback and then go. So, you're not hitting it at full stride like you should. And it's one of the things I have like an issue just as far as like when I look at it offensively. Some of the things that we don't necessarily run is like that power game, like I'm just used to. Like, sometimes it's just like that, smash mouth football. That's what you just want to see, that smash mouth football that's going to wear the defensive tackles down, and you're going to keep the linebackers, you're going to keep them honest. And so I think it opens up the pass, and sometimes when we don't have that, then it creates a little bit of problems for us offensively.
Well, I think Clyde Edwards still, I think at the end of the day, he'll have success. I think he'll have to continue to find his niche on the field and find out where the successful, plays are for him. Again, if you can get him in between the tackles and you can put him one-on-one with a linebacker, I believe he'll win that every time. If you can get Clyde to the second level and get him one-on-one with a linebacker, because of his sidestep and his step away, he can flat out beat just about any linebacker. Now, if you get them in tight situations where they can get their hands on them, then the defense is going to win just because of the size. But, I still think he runs very low to the low gravity, runs very low to the ground. So I think he also wins in those muscle yards, when he has an opportunity. But, it's one of those things, once you get into the league and you start to see the size of the defense and how fast that they are, it's one of those things where you got to use all of your tools and use all of the I say, the Kansas City Chiefs, they have the ability to change the offense so quickly. And they're able, and they have a quarterback, obviously, that with Holmes, that has the ability to get out on the perimeter and then changes the dynamic of the entire landscape of the football field once he's able to get out there, because he has the ability to throw across the field. You know what I mean? He can also stop on a dime, and then he can, he's not afraid to run, tuck the ball and run. So, the offense is very exciting to watch, as a fan of the Chiefs, and sitting, and being on the outside looking in. I enjoy watching them play, man. And it's always a pleasure to see their ability. The one thing people always ask me is, what's the first thing that you miss about football? And I tell them, scoring a touchdown. It was nothing like 70,000 people or even more than that. Half of them are going to be cheering you on, and the other half is going to be hating you, So that was a passion of mine, to be able to feel that energy, regardless if it was good energy or bad energy. To get 70,000 people up on their feet yelling against you or yelling with you was a beautiful thing.
That is true. Marcus, I hate holding you out, so you got to get you involved.
No, I wanted to ask Priest, because on the topics of running backs, this weekend's gonna be the first weekend that we'll have all of our backs healthy, because pretty much all throughout the season, one of them's been hurt. McKinnon's been hurt. Darrell Williams has been hurt. CEH has been hurt. This is the first weekend all four of them, and plus Derek Gore, who emerged throughout the season. And I've seen a lot of fans on Twitter talk about, is there a way where the team could get all four backs realistically involved in the offense throughout the playoffs, or is that just kind of hard to do, to kind of get everyone touches?
No, I think when you have an opportunity to go into the playoffs and you're going on that run, you need all healthy bodies, and you never know which one of those backs is going to be the one to add that spark. And if they're all healthy, let's activate them and make sure they have an opportunity to get a chance to get into the game. Obviously, you're going to have one back that's going to stand out. He's going to get more touches. He's going to get a little bit more of the flow, but it never fails because of the way that systems are now, and you have multiple backs that come out and have that diversity. It only takes one of those backs to have a big 20-yard play that changes the game. And then the game can reset back to Mahomes, and now he can take control of the game. That's where I look at, how can these guys like Gore and McKinnon be successful? It may not be from a down-to-down play, but it's going to be from being that spark player that comes in, makes a big play, makes a big block, or makes a big catch that gets the first down, that's going to be able to keep that offense going. Because the offense is built, it has the tools that it needs. It has the ability to be playing football for a long time now, obviously with the number of championships that they already have within the division, and now, getting another run at the playoffs. They've been playing exceptional over the years, and the defense, has been right there, stood by the sides and continue to make plays, especially when they needed to make them.
I see it hard to do before running backs, and I agree. Yeah, you got to find a way. especially when I think they've all four played well throughout the season.
Okay.
Williams has played exceptionally well, better than I thought he was going to play this year. For most of what they've used him for, power back, back out of the catching plays out of the backfield and whatever else. And Gore has definitely been a spark. But I think they're just, hard to find ways to get everybody in some type of rhythm. And, with us being such a pass-happy team, we have favorites. As much as we don't want to admit it, we do. Kelce's one of our favorites. Tyreek Hill's one of our favorites. And so we got to feed these guys the ball because that's where most of our success comes from. And at times you have to run the ball because you have to keep defenses honest. And of the four, it's hard to say, how do we put you in if you've got a good run and, we got you in rhythm. And so we're going to go with the next guy in the next series when this guy's already he's got a good rhythm. So if whoever starts, get in, has got a good rhythm, running, catching the ball, how do you pull him out and just throw the other guy in when you got, such a good rhythm with the offense going?
Yeah, I don't think you really take them out. I think you go with the guy with the hot hand, like anybody says, and most teams do. You go with the running back that has the hot hand. But there are certain situations like McKinnon. He's great on the swing pass. If you can get him out in space, out in the perimeter, get him one-on-one with a defender, he has the speed, he's agile, he has the ability to break away and to get that first down or pick up a 15-yard play just off of a quick pass. You look at Gore, a much stronger running back, has size, runs aggressively. I think that still makes a difference between when you're playing a game and you're going into the playoffs. You're going to have to make sure you have someone that has the ability to be dominant, to make that force, to run really hard. And every now and then you need that example to be shown out on the field. It makes a difference. I'm telling you, when cats are running a certain way and with power and with aggression, man, it does send a message to both sidelines, to let players know, man, our running game is here to stay. You can do all the, like I said, you can do all the draw plays you want. You can do all the swing passes you want. You can do all the flashy plays, but it goes back to what JD says. Eventually you got to line up and you got to dig them out and go downhill, in between those tackles. And so, I think that they'll continue to have success in doing that, but I think they definitely need to stay with the hot hand, and whoever they're going with out of that running back committee, they need to stay with. And then of course, put in players like McKinnon on special plays where, you get a chance to pick up a really quick 5 yards, 10 yards on a quick swing pass.
Look, all those guys have, a particular talent about them, right? I can name each and every one, at least in my estimation, what they have. Like you said, McKinnon's great out in space, probably one of the best pass blockers they got. Darrell Williams is like one of those guys. He's going to get you extra yards, the tough yards that you need. Gore's kind of more of a balance between CEH and Williams. I think he's kind of like the complete back, but he's not going to get a lot of looks. CEH, he's another one who's that's your workhorse. That's the guy that you get, like you said, you got to lean on first, see what he's doing, see how he's responding, how his body's doing well. But it's a good change of pace. So every time you can throw a defense off with a change of pace guy, that's when you want to keep them guessing. Who's this guy coming in now? And so when you got a guy who's coming in and he's already, pounding away at you, and then all of a sudden you got a guy who's running around you, that's got to be frustrating on the defense. I mean, you could probably talk, a little bit about that when you see different backs come in. I mean, think about like Denver. Denver, same thing. When you talk about Gordon and them guys, Williams, change of pace, they give you something different. And defense got to adjust to it. And that's hard to adjust like that right on the fly, right? Oh, here comes this guy in, right? So that's a good thing about having, I guess, that problem. If that's an issue, that's a good problem to have, right? 4 guys who come out there and can hit home anytime they want to. So I like it. I like that part of it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And, at the end of the day, I always go back, you got to line up and you got to dig them out, and we also know that on the defense side of the ball, when they get ready to pin those ears back on the defensive ends and they start putting a helmet and getting anywhere near your quarterback, it makes a difference. It changes up the play of the game. It changes how that progression of going into the pocket your quarterback is going to have once he starts getting too much contact or too many defenders being close to him. And I think that's always going to be the neutralizer of the game. So, they have a 1-2 punch. They have the ability to have backs that have the ability to get on the perimeter. They have the ability to go strong in between tackles. But you got to get, I think, Clyde Edwards' success early in the game. You can't wait to allow for Clyde Edwards to work from the bottom up. I think he's a front runner. I think he gets out, and if you get him running good and you get him breaking tackles and you get him escaping the linebackers and getting out and picking up 10 yards, I think he's the type of player that plays out front. And so I've seen a lot of players, the ones that can play out front and the ones that are always going to be consistent from the back end. They're always going to be there. They're always going to be digging out people in the trenches. They're always going to be blocking. They're always going to make sure they catching the pass. And then you have the front runners. But I think it's a combination of both. And I think the team has it. You talk about the receivers, you talked about Kelce, you talked about Hill. Again, we know what those guys can do. You run Kelce across the field, you run Hill deep. It's a no-brainer of how to be successful with those guys. But the neutralizer that the Chiefs have always had that neutralizes any defense is Mahomes. So he has something special. He has a knack of being able to control the game. So I'm looking forward to this Sunday and seeing how he does, man, and how he controls the game.
Oh, so we get into the hot takes already.
Yeah, something like that.
So I talk about this Sunday coming up. I don't know if you guys saw Big Ben's his presser today. He essentially said that we're going out looking to have fun this weekend. That's a good team. That's the class, the AFC, and we're not focusing on a win. We just want to have fun and play. Essentially, a lot of people are saying, it's like, Big Ben doesn't want to give us any bulletin board material, saying that pretty much the Chiefs have already had this game won, and we're just going to go out there and have fun on Sunday. What do you guys kind of make of that? I mean, it's obviously, that guy's been in the league for a long time.
I thought he mentioned something to the point of like they weren't really supposed to be there, and so we're just going to go out and have fun. But
exactly,
you know what? Ben's had a great career. I think he's a good leader. I know a lot of people like to revert back to what he did in the beginning of his career with the off-field incident. Outside of that, the guy's been outstanding, upstanding player, great for the league, wonderful numbers, got a couple of Super Bowls, right? I think he's got 2.
Yeah, 2.
So, and he's a Hall of Fame player. So I think we're going to always get the best of what Ben has to give. And at this age, I don't think he's got what the old Ben had to give. So we won't have to worry a lot about him. Even though he's still got a little in his backpack that he can, bring out and carve up a defense with. But no, he's not the threat that he used to be. They got a young, talented running back that I think is up and coming. And again, I think they have one of the best coaches in the league. So they're always going to be a good contender. But I do think that we have the better team.
Yeah, I mean, when you go back to talking about the coach, Coach T, I mean, he commands a presence, man, and he doesn't deal with any BS, when it comes to his team. And so, they got some really good leaders on that team as well. We know what comes with the black and orange or black and yellow. We know what comes. We know we're going to see terrible towels in the stadium. We played in games and I said, man, where in the heck is all these terrible towels coming from? Why, how's all this yellow in the stadium? But it's going to be one of those games. It's going to be loud. It's going to be exciting. And again, Pittsburgh's going to be a tough team. It's going to be a tough playoff run, starting out. But, that just comes with playing really good football, smart football, and taking up the opportunities that you can. You win in increments. We know that you win in increments. You don't win it in the first quarter. You don't win in the second quarter. So, I think the guys are going to show up and show out. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. I think Big Ben's kind of blowing a little smoke up everybody right now. So he, hey, we're just gonna come have fun. And look, he's been on this has been his farewell tour. Okay, and what would be more satisfying than coming in and beating the young wonder, Patrick Mahomes at home, right? Sitting in the Chiefs' home. I mean, seriously, that to them, they are thinking, first I got embarrassed last time they came here and played. Okay, they ain't forgot about that. Thomas and all them guys, what they saying behind the scenes, they are coming here ready to kick our tail. Believe me, they knew. Look, the first time we embarrassed them, okay, Big Ben is sitting over there. Yeah, okay, everything's gonna be fine. Look, they seen what happened against us with Cincinnati. Okay, they're gonna feel like receivers could do the same thing. That's what they feel. I mean, it's gonna be bombs away. I guarantee it on Sunday. They're gonna let this thing fly. When Ben talking about having fun, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about chucking the ball down the field. All right. And make no mistake about it. This might be at least, I think Big Ben's out of here. But for Thomason, he's on the hot seat possibly after this. I mean, everybody's been talking about it a little bit. Like, okay,
for what reason though?
You know what? Because he hadn't really won, the championship. He hadn't won the Super Bowl since, what was last year they won it? And so when you talk about it, he talk about like
dude hasn't had a losing season since he's been there.
I get it.
And you ride that one horse, and Ben's been a good ride. I gotta give him credit. Ben's been a good ride. It's just that Father Time has caught up to him.
Right. I'm just going by what the talk says. I don't agree with it. I'm right there with you. I'm like, you know what? Tomlinson was one of the best coaching records, in the NFL, without a doubt, right? Percentage-wise and stuff. So, but the other talking is like, hey, man, if you don't win this one, it might be you had to move on from it. To me, it doesn't make any sense.
Worst thing they could ever do.
Huh?
Yeah, well, we also know that Coach T. We know what the formula that he plays with. He's a grit player. He's a grit coach. You already know behind the scenes what he's telling his team. They're coming in here ready to play. They're going to be suiting up. And, it's one of those things. No one's going to give you that extra material that you can play off of with the media. No one's going to throw those jabs out there, especially when you're heading into the playoffs. Everybody's going to play it safe and, kind of keep their tricks underneath their sleeves. They ain't going to reveal much of anything. But I can tell you, Pittsburgh Steelers will be there. They come to play.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think TJ Watt would let them get rid of Tomlin.
No, not at all. Yeah. So yeah, man, this has been awesome, man. I appreciate you guys, man, bringing me on this platform. It's always exciting, man, jumping on here and talking with you guys, talking shop, talking football. Again, I'm all the way in San Antonio, Texas, so far away from where the Chiefs are at this moment in time. But it's always great, you know what I'm saying, to think about what the future holds for the Kansas City Chiefs. A special group of guys. There's been definitely troubled past and that's led up to this moment. There's been lots of successful players and teams that have brought us to this day where you now see the Chiefs winning in the fashion that they're winning in. And you know what? The one thing I always talk about is it doesn't hurt also that when we played, I think the revenue was generating about anywhere from $6 to $7 billion. It doesn't hurt when it's at 16 billion and plus and running, it doesn't hurt. It's a good time to play football.
You ain't kidding right there for sure.
Good time, man.
But before we get you up, we want to get your prediction on this weekend and like your score prediction.
Well, I've never even played fantasy football. So man, y'all hitting in the dark.
I don't even play fantasy football.
Yeah. I've never played it, never bet. I've only heard about it. So it's one of those things. I think it was, you remember guys, when we were playing, I believe we were banned from participating in fantasy football and definitely betting on it or anything like that. But I'm not going to be able to tell you what the score would be. I'm just going to tell you that the Chiefs are going to win. That's all I'm going to tell you.
That's all you got.
Tell you that the Chiefs are going to win.
You don't have any kind of prediction on what you think the score will be.
No.
Okay.
Being one that's never been out to Vegas to bet, being one that's never played fantasy football, man, you're hitting in the dark with me on what a score would be. But I can tell you that the Chiefs are going to show up. Hey, I'm kind of like Ben right now. I'm not going to give you anything. I'm not going to give you anything to take my credit.
Right. Well, Pre said it was going to be okay. Yeah, you can't have that right now.
Yeah. So what do y'all think? Let me put it back on you guys. What do y'all think?
I mean, I think it'll be 33-24.
Wow.
I playing Pittsburgh, I think that's too high of a game.
Oh no,
I think the defensive side of the ball. I still believe when it comes to the playoffs, it comes to Pittsburgh. It's a certain way that they play. Coach T is going to bring him in. I don't believe the defense is going to allow for that many points to be scored on them.
It was offensively. So you don't think our offense put up 33 points?
Correct. I don't know. It's not that we cannot put up 33 points. I believe the defense is not going to allow that to happen. That's all. Okay. I'm saying.
I sure will. I'll be sending you a text message right after the game.
It was 36-10 last time we played.
Whoa. What was it?
It was 36-10 the last time we played.
36-10, but we had 2 turnovers in the first half, which is good. If we can still make the turnovers that we eliminate on my side, I think we at least get 28. I think I'm looking at 28-17 is what I'm looking at right now. 28-17. The same key to beating them last time was stopping Najee Harris. You stop Najee Harris, then you're going to hold Big Ben and all of them. You're going to hold them up. So I think we still scored, 4 touchdowns on them. I think we had a really good game plan against them last time. I think we kind of stick with a little bit of that. We got Travis Kelce back. We didn't have Travis Kelce the first game playing against him. So that's going to be another factor with him. So we'll see, man. 28-17. 28-17. What do you think about that one, Priest?
Well, Priest, you don't think we get close to 30 points?
No, I think we're going to be under 28 points.
Wow. Under 28?
Under 28. I think we're going to be under 28 points.
So you think they get to 20 points?
Well, I just think it's going to be a defensive ball game, and it's going to be under 28 points. Just sticking with that.
I'm pretty down right now, see?
He trying to really put me out there. Oh, yeah, and another thing, guys, I don't know if y'all know this, but I had a chance to get with Clark and Amanda with the Chiefs. They invited me out. I'll be beating the drum, I guess, to open up the game this weekend. So they're inviting me back in town. So I'll be, making my way back to Kansas City. It's been a while since COVID, The last game that I attended was the Super Bowl game that they played down in Miami a few years ago when they came back and beat the 49ers in fashion. All right. Yeah. So I'm excited. So y'all see me back there. You'll see me. And if you tune in at the beginning of the game, you'll see me trying to stay on beat with the tomahawk chop. Yeah, that'd be me.
Yeah. Man, I'm glad you came on.
Give it everything you got. Chris, I always say this, man. I thought, when you came back for the second run with the Chiefs, I thought you'd have came in the stadium on on a chariot, just riding in like an old gladiator, just holding your fist up. You know what I'm saying? Just take a whole lap around the stadium, man. I'd have loved to see that. But man, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Good seeing you, Priest. It really is, brother.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me. Marcus, I appreciate you spending a little time with me and letting me talk shop with these guys, man. These are my old teammates back from that 2003 Chiefs and many years that we played before and after that, man. E, man, again, we go all the way back to Nebraska, man. One of our first meetings, back in college football. JD, hey, you know what I always knew? They always said, man, if you ever running the ball, which side would you rather go? Tony Gonzalez or or JD? I said, man, that's not even an answer. You got to ask.
That's a no-brainer.
Ask me. T-Gun ain't blocking nobody. So send me to JD's side so we can go ahead and get to work and put some work in. JD and I, man, we used to put that work in if y'all don't know that, man. JD will get that hook on the defensive end, and if he hook him on the inside, I'm taking JD's hip. If JD pushes him out wide, I'm getting up underneath JD's hip, So it was one of those things. I already knew the position that JD was going to be. He's going to be aiming for, as a tight end coming out and making that block. And then with T-Gun, oh man, we don't know what's going to happen with T-Gun. Man. You got to be ready. Just be ready. You just be ready.
Well, hey, I told him when Coach Bill gave you that name, the ticket.
I'll tell you what, man, I've had a couple of different names while we're talking about that. I don't know how much time we have left, but during the off season, Coach Vermeil and Carol Vermeil would have different groups come to their house. I think y'all remember that. It'd be the DBs and tight ends, or running backs and DBs, or the quarterbacks. And so one of the names that I ended up calling me is that at the beginning of going over to the Vermeil's house, they start off with white wine and they'd show you the difference in white wine. And then you move to the red wines. And then Miss Carol, she would always cook a roast. Well, I remember, what I thought was just white wine. I said, man, Coach, why don't you give me some of that cake bread in there? You know what I mean? And so he was trying to figure out, man, ever since I called what was probably like Riesling at the time, and they had me drinking. I mean, I didn't know if it was Riesling, champagne. I said, man, y'all just give me some of that cake bread up in there. And, I'm sorry. And so when I said that, the name of the wine ended up being cake bread. But ever since then, man, when I got to naming all these different names, Coach Vermeil would always tell me, man, shortbread, he's shortbread. He's shortbread and he ghost. Man, those are the two names I remember having. Either you going to look for me, I'm not going to appear. You're not going to find me. You're not gonna find me. Or if it comes to trying to name some wine, I'm gonna just butcher the names of all the wines, until I learn. So
No, this was at training camp, and you came down, and Greg Wesley just came and snuck you on a play.
Yeah.
And Coach Vermeil, everybody got hot. I think one of the linemen tried to fight it, And so Coach Jamil came in and broke it. It was like, hey, this is the ticket. This is what gonna get us to the Super Bowl. We don't hit him like that.
Right. He fussed at everybody. Priest, I don't know if you remember, but I remember seeing you, Priest. After they had that play, I remember you do like this. You just took your chin strap off, took your helmet off, sit on the side. You're like, hey man, I'm done. He took his ass.
Yeah, man, we had some great memories, man. Just from being in the meeting room, with the tight ends, being in the meeting rooms with the linemen, going out through walkthroughs with the guys, man. And the coach always telling me, "Pre, slow down. This ain't the game." I'm on a full speed and walkthrough, ready to go. And but it was just some really good times. And like I said, even to this day, I still get a chance to connect with Coach Vermeil. Every month or so, I'll get a text, man, and he'll be checking in on me. He'll call my parents and check in and see how they're doing. I'll return that call, return that text, and check in to see how Coach Vermeil is doing. So, it's just to have a coach like that, man, that had, the ability to really bond us all together, get us all to believe in the common goal and go out there and try to come, to accomplish that, man. That's big.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, he just called me last week, and that's one thing I've done with a lot of the guys that I played with. I create these little group text messages because a lot of them don't get to keep up. A lot of them don't have numbers to most of the guys that we played with. So I try to keep in touch with everybody that I played with, man.
Oh,
everybody.
Yeah. We just got off the ambassador call about 30 minutes before I jumped on this call. And so, the ambassadors program with the Chiefs, if you played at least 4 years, you can come back and participate as an ambassador. You can get involved with the community. You can do events. You can be a part of the gala. You get a chance to fundraise and give out scholarship dollars as well, if you choose to do that. It's funny, one of those things that, I didn't even realize that the ambassadors existed. Part of half of my 15 years that I was retired, I'd always go back and participate in events, and I'd see the guys, but I just thought I was seeing the guys. I didn't realize it was a program, but I finally got educated on it, man. So for any of the former players that might be watching this and reaching out and seeing this, always encourage them to get involved with the Chiefs. And it's a funny rule that you have to play at least 4 years, so that leaves out a lot of guys as well. But for the guys that if that's something that they feel interested in doing, they should partake in it. It's a good group of guys. It's roughly about 50 to 55 guys that participate in the ambassador program. And you get a chance to see them once a month, and you get a chance to give out some money. So that's good stuff.
That's what's up.
Always good.
Priest, before you go, there's a question I want to ask you. So back in the day before there was Twitter, I remember my brother, my older brother's a big Chiefs fan, and I was like 9 or 8 at the time. And I remember, I guess it was one of the off seasons where we didn't know if you were going to be back and healthy or not. But there was this person on Kansas City Star's message board named Bishop 31 who acted as if he was you, Priest Holmes. And so I remember my brother say, "Oh, Priest is messaging on the message boards here. He says he's going to be back." He would give this person would give updates every so often. So I had to ask you, because there's no verified accounts on the message boards back in the day. Were you Bishop 31 on the Kansas City Star message board back in the day?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge did I have anything to do with that. But I can tell you, Marcus, about Twitter and social media. Man, I pray to God still to this day. I'm glad that thing didn't exist when I played. I still throw up a couple of prayers. Man, I'm glad it didn't exist. Because we used to have fun. We used to have fun.
Yeah.
We used to win. We used to go out to the steakhouse after we would win. And there was one club that had it at the basement. What was the name of that club? Casino. Boy, the Mika JD, T-Gun, that's their spot. But I can tell you what, man, I think that when we played, although we had different challenges playing the game, we dealt with more abuse that could be accepted on the field. I think that some of the laws, some of the things that got outlawed with football, that it contributed to some of the injuries I had. I had a horse collar out in Denver. That's how I ended up getting the hip. When I was playing out in, I think it was Tampa Bay, one of the guys launched, and that's how I ended up messing up my MCL, and so now you can't lead with the helmet, right? I mean, just imagine that, JD, if we was down there running that perimeter run, and man, you can't even hit me with your helmet. Oh, it's on and cracking. It'd be very tough. It'd be very tough. And so I think the challenges that they played with today, they're probably challenges that, we're just not familiar with, when we see it. And we probably call it something different, but they have their own set of challenges, and they have social media. The time that they step outside their door, they're being watched and typically being filmed, you know, and that's something I think in 1997, when I first got into the league, no, that was unknown of, unless, you know, you were just the big celebrity guy, you know, where, you know, you would have media. And then again, you had to be in Dallas, or you had to be in New York, you know, to have that type of attention. Yeah, big markets, you have to be in that. So, you know, we definitely was able to escape some punishments that probably would have been, you know, laid out, had we, you know, just been so carefree, you know, back then. But, you know, I think it's very tough for today's athlete. You know, they deal with so much more, and the scrutiny that they're under. Man, I only pray for those guys, because I know, man, it's just a matter of them just walking into the restaurant saying the wrong thing, and man, it could be all over Twitter and have an impact on their career. So, you know, they deal with so much more. But it looked a lot different when we played. So, you know, we're blessed to be able to be here today and to watch what this game has evolved to. And like I said, the amount of money that's generated has gone up. There's nothing to see a $70-80 million player. That could be JD, that could be a running back, that could be E now. You know, it could be any of us. You know, it wouldn't be your select, you know, your select 3 guys on the team that are really seeing those opportunities. But it's good to see that the game has grown, and I'm glad that I had an opportunity to be a part of it.
You know, as much as I always want to complain about how so much changed, you know, from the way you hit to the way, you know, some of the calls are adjusted. But then I look at, you know, some of the guys that played before me to some of the guys that I played with, and some of the heartfelt moments. You know, some of those guys aren't here because of the physical parts that have labored them, or the mental part that's gotten the best of them. So I've accepted, and it's taken me a while to accept the changes in the game, to try to make it better for guys when they do leave the game, to be not in a position like a lot of the guys that we played with are in. So,
yeah, when you talk about that change, when guys go into camp, they have what's called an acclimation period, you know, where you know, they don't go into camp going right into pads, which is what we experience. And then, you know, they don't go in the camp knowing that they got to put on pads and do 2-a-days, or have multiple practices and then have back-to-back days with practices. So there's a lot of things that they've done to help clean up the game. Obviously, one of the concerns that we all as players have to understand and be aware of is CTE. Obviously, right now, the findings, you can't, you know, diagnose that until a person has passed and they've donated their brain. But with all these things that we've had to persevere through, you know, I think that they are trying their best to kind of clean up the game. You know, the game is still going to be an exciting game. It's still going to be a game of impact. It's going to be a game of the strongest and the smartest players, you know, that are out there on the field. It's going to be, you know, a game of who can match up players the best. So that part of football hadn't changed, and it will never change, man. Sure. And that's what makes it special. So, you know, however this game goes, whether it's we're scoring 33 or more points, or JD, you know, the defense stepping up and, you know, trying to keep the offense down. I think it's going to be a hell of a game, man. I'm excited and can't wait to see it.
Yeah. We'll see it. We'll see it.
Well, Priest.
Well, yeah. I have to tell you, I got to say one thing, Marcus. I'm checking out these bobbleheads behind you, man, and but I see the bobbleheads, but you're missing one.
Well,
how you know he's missing one?
You're missing one. I don't see that 3-1 up in there.
So when I was younger, when my brother moved out to California, I had Priest is his favorite player. He's got an autographed helmet of yours, autographed ball, all his Priest Holmes stuff. And I was actually telling E earlier that back in the day, I remember my brother, there was a street in our area in Northern Virginia it was Holmes Run Drive. And I remember one night he came home with this big sign that said Holmes Run Drive on it. But I actually had a Priest Holmes bobblehead that I had, and when he moved to California, I gave it to him when I was a young kid. So that's why I never ended up getting it back. But I will definitely look out for one on eBay or something.
Yeah, and Priest, our show doesn't stop. We go when we ready to stop. So if you ain't ready to go, we ain't got to shut it down.
Yeah. So the thing is, Marcus, you know, like when I talk about bobbleheads and things of that nature, you always almost forget. I mean, man, we're 15 years now, close to 15 years being retired, and it's almost as if, man, I kind of lose count. You know, after that 10 years of being out the game, I've kind of just lost count in terms of trying to keep up with it. You know, I think it was more synonymous for me. I was saying, man, let me get to those 10 years let me try to beat that statistics that, that within 3 years, 78% of the players are having issues with abuse, chemical dependence, they're bankrupt. I was like, man, let me get to the 3 years. Okay, let me get to the 10 years. And so once I hit 10 years, it just seems like, I look at the game a little bit different. I also try to think back to, when we were playing, how long ago that was, and that, when you see these newer players, it's funny, man, the guys that are now playing, they're remembering us now as when we played, or they're remembering guys that when we were getting ready to retire, they're remembering those guys. And it's just interesting when you get a chance to talk to these young players now. I've had an opportunity to meet some of the players just in passing at being at different conventions and things of that nature. And they always still have something, really, really good to say about the players that they watch. No different than that. I just talked about, there was a coaches convention that was here in San Antonio this past Sunday and Monday. I had a chance to talk with Tyrone Wheatley. I don't know if y'all remember who Tyrone Wheatley was. Michigan running back. He also played for the Giants and I believe the Raiders. And you remember he came out of college in 1995. He wasn't that far removed before you and I. And, I still remember watching him and playing video games, with someone that was just still, we even overlapped, playing years. But, it's always exciting getting a chance to, connect with these young guys. I don't think they always know all the past. And I have to say, I didn't even know the past when I got into the game because, I was probably one of those first generation guys that within my family was one of the one or two players that was able to play professionally. But it wasn't something that I saw. It wasn't in my backyard. It wasn't at home. It wasn't where I was going home to an uncle or a dad and always talking football. I was the one to first experience, I guess, this path with my family on a large scale, as a professional. So, although these young players, give us, they give homage and, they're always thankful when they see the older guys that have done it before them. But it's no different than when we got in the game, man. And, like I said, Ernest Biner and paying homage to him and, letting them know how important he was, to the game of football with me. I just also, at that convention had a chance to, connect with some other guys as well. But, the biggest thing that I like about getting a chance to reconnect is always trying to give out those services and letting guys know what their benefits are with the NFLPA, with our union. Our union has done some great things. I know, although the union wasn't as strong when we played, we almost felt like it was obsolete. Like, where's that representation? Those owners at the time. Yeah, these owners and the coaches are getting away with highway robbery with the way that they're having us go out here to practice and taking up so much time, depriving us of sleep. It kind of felt like that, but it was all meant to grow the game, man. And so here we are, years later, and the game has just continued to just explode, man. And I think that when the game moves out for the championship game out in California to SoFi Field, man, I think that's going to be an incredible time. And I haven't seen in person, gone to any of those California stadiums, but I can just imagine, man. I can just imagine how beautiful those stadiums are and what that looked like. The one thing I also, have a grief about is that every time I left college or left Baltimore or left the Chiefs, they always decided then to start the construction. Man, I ain't never played in something new and nice. I remember our break room, our lunchroom was like in a hallway that was in between going to the meeting room and to go outside the stadium. This little hallway, man. We had Raisin Bran, we had Kellogg's, and then we had, the little hot plate, but it was all served on like a 6-foot table, okay, well, I guess that's what we do here. But it was always great. I never actually seen a cafeteria until I went on one of my recruiting trips. I went to Cleveland. And again, I don't think not too many people also desired to go to Cleveland back when we played, especially when they had the new stadium that came out. But man, you could just imagine some of these stadiums and the way that they look and the ability. And even now, the Chiefs facility, what they have, the access that they have to all the amenities and, all the first class service of what it should always look like and probably will always continue to be. I don't know if you're familiar with Dallas. I know E is. Y'all got a school out in Dallas that you would almost compare that to a big stadium in some of the schools and the amount of money. I mean, they put like $60 million in one of those. $60 million. $60 million. Yeah. In a high school stadium and facility in their weight room. You walk in there and it's first class, so, football is, like I said, it's a good thing to be in football. But there's so many things that are transitioning. I have a question for you guys, man. What do y'all think about the athletes now that are going to be in collegiate football that now have an opportunity to sign with an agent, make upwards to $150,000, and they're on a college? They're just going to school now. That looks a whole lot different. Y'all had the ability. Y'all had those types of players that, and like we had with Ricky, but y'all had those types of players where, man, you had a $250,000 college athlete walking around, and now
I don't know nothing about that.
Now, they used to give out rental cars back there these days.
Yeah, right.
Showing up at the house. They had groceries showing up at the houses over there in Nebraska. But the game has changed, man, and now guys, these college athletes, the amateurism and all of that's changing by day. And now these kids have a chance to sign these lucrative contracts, man. It's just incredible just where the game is going. My concern, obviously, one of the concerns that a lot of people have talked about is now these kids are going to be hit with a 1099, and so how is this kid going to be able to adapt to that? It's one thing to be, to have debt in college, and to be able to have a situation where you have a loan, you have a debt. It's another when you're not paying taxes to the IRS. So that's where it's going to be difficult to see how these kids are able to adjust with this disability of the money that they'll be able to garner now. And then also, I don't know if y'all know this, but when I left school, right after we played, I went to Baltimore. I had, 3 or 4 credits left. Didn't finish my degree at the time. It wasn't until 2015 that I went back to school and finished my degree and got my degree in education. And they actually paid me in 2015 about $2,000 a month just to go back to school. So I just saw how things just have changed over the years. And I went back to UT, University of Texas, to get my degree. And so kids now, they have the ability to have they have the ability to really help themselves now. These young college athletes that are going into school, there's so much opportunity and benefits and services that are afforded to them. So the game has really changed. I'm really curious about what's going to happen with the NCAA, in terms of how they're going to keep a lid on what's going on, whether or not they're going to have to create subdivisions. Is the power ranking school still going to be able to be as a union and be working all together? Or are some of those schools going to break off? There's so many unknowns now, just in collegiate football. And how are we going to take these young athletes that we always know we want to get them groomed and ready to go into the league? But man, you're going to have kids now making $500,000 in college. It's a different world now.
But the reality is this: this could have been done years ago, and we know this. We know that this is a big business. NCAA has been making money off their athletes for a long time, and so I look at it because it's a great thing. Because now you do, like you said, you have the ability to do this. But you want to, does this environment, does it permeate success in itself? Right? I know it's always a question because you get these facilities, you get all of these, these places, and you have everything. Like when we look at it, we sit there and think, there's no reason you can't be successful. There's no reason you shouldn't be successful, right? And so somehow it's still the way, because you think about, well, look, if I'm making a guy's life easier, if I give him, maybe he gets the NIL, and he's making $500,000, what is he doing with this 1099? Well, we also know at this time what ends up happening, we start getting more agencies coming up, right? Trying to get kids like, hey, let me sign this kid for this amount of money, like an agent. Maybe just, and it's full board. They're taking care of everything. Same thing, like taxes, everything like we would do. Like you said, it's amateurism. It's professional, pretty much. And so when you see these things, and I just say this I'm up here in Lexington, where UK basketball players have been making money for a lot of years, okay? A lot of years. All they've done is they just made the thing legal, pretty much. And I'm sure they did the same thing out in Nebraska. I'm sure they handed the bag to eat. I know they handed the bag to eat. They still like that. I ain't gonna say nothing to eat. I'm gonna leave it alone. But I know that NCAA could have definitely done that, man, a long time ago. Like you said, we had to play to get to that point right now, as far as athletes wise. I'm glad that they're there. But my true feeling about it is they could have done this a long time ago. And there was a lot of guys that didn't have the ability, like you said, to earn money, that had to put themselves in positions. I've seen guys, man, that play with me in college that, chose to sell drugs or different things like that because they didn't really have anything to fall back on. I mean, that was kind of how they thought. It was a thought process of that. So now what you've done is you help eliminate maybe part of that thought process of, I feel like I got to do this as opposed to that, right? Now I can actually make money with me playing in college. Now I have, like you said, now I have an ability to get a scholarship, and now people's helping me throw money in my pocket to go to school. Not just this whole like little lunch table that we getting, or, just playing on this little table from, a 6-foot table, getting a little bit of meal, a couple of ham sandwiches to you. I just, when I see it back then, it's just kind of a tragedy to see how it was. But I'm so thankful it is where it is right now. So that's my thought on it. I mean, I think they could have done a long time ago. So good it's there right now.
To me, it's too big of a topic to address from my perspective, because there's so many ways to go with it, good and bad. I'm just glad the kids have an opportunity to make money off their name, and hopefully they can make a career with that money or with that opportunity that was given to them from whatever company. I don't have an opinion on as to why they shouldn't or to why they should. It's implemented, see how it goes, and best of luck to the kids that are in position to make these illustrious careers from all the money that they can make in college. I mean, we had a guy here in Dallas that skipped his senior year because he had, such a great career coming up to his senior year, to where he didn't want to risk injury. So sat out. I think he went to Ohio State, signed an agent his junior year in high school. That's what we're looking at. Times change, and we kind of adapt to how the changes that are given us. And so if they want to give these kids this type of opportunity, more power to them. I wish we'd have had it back then when I was in school. Yes, would have loved it, but I was not fortunate to be in that situation. So I just see what happens with it.
Yeah, the only thing I can tell you, what I could say, E, to piggyback on what you were saying, you talk about, man, if this, could have happened back when we were playing, we may not have had that, but we did have a rental car that kind of, the keys kind of just went along from player to player. We don't know whose rental car it was. Just the keys just kept changing hands. Everybody had a chance to ride the rental car, but hey, it's a lot different these days. But we had the rental car keys that just got passed around. Man, we don't know whose it is, but it's my turn to drive it.
You see the difference, right? You see the difference between Texas and Nebraska, right? There's always keys and things they find always in the locker, laid down around everywhere. We had that at Eastern. At Eastern, hey, we was happy to get an extra meal if we could on a meal call.
Yeah, we even had the house that always mysteriously bags of groceries appeared at, a 10, 12 bag of groceries. Where do these groceries come from? Well, I guess we're supposed to eat them because here they are. Well, like I said, and like just going back to the NCAA, also you talk about the one-time transfer, that the kids now have. Now kids, it's really the here and now. You talk about social media, the here and now, the influencers that they have on social media that just influences all these kids. You now have the ability, which has been implemented, the one-time transfer. So a kid can come into a school as soon as that, where coaches can kind of hold it over your head saying, if you don't act right, you don't do what, my system is telling you to do. If you don't abide with the direction we're trying to go, may hold that over your head, right? And it may keep you from getting a chance to start. Now the kids say, what the hell with that? Let me go ahead and jump in this portal. Let me go to the one-time transfer and I'm out of here. So the football has changed, especially on the collegiate level, and it's given the kids so much more opportunity to make a decision for themselves and not to be handcuffed. But I can just imagine now jumping out of the kid's side and now being a coach and saying, wait, we can't even handle these kids. I'm giving this kid a scholarship, and now
it's giving them more than opportunity, Priest. It's giving them power.
Yeah, it's giving them power. And now this kid leaves my school. I just burned a scholarship on this kid, and I can't now get a new scholarship because it's already been taken by this one kid. So, it's just so many things that I think that, although the here and now and what social media has done, you have kids, and, we talked about this over the last 2 days. You have kids that have social media accounts, they're making $2,000. They're required to post at least 8 to 10 times a day. What is a kid going to do when they're making that $2,000 and coach is telling him he needs to be at practice? I think the kid is going to probably they're going to buck a little bit. They're going to have a different idea of, I need to do just what the coach says. I mean, they've been empowered by social media, man, and it's allowed these kids to really think outside of the box and make an income for themselves. So I know it's a challenge, man. I know it's a challenge. I can just imagine the coach saying, "Man, if you don't get your butt in this doggone meeting room and put that camera down, that didn't exist when we played. That wasn't going to happen. We knew we had our phones off and put that up, and we sneak in our locker for a little bit and check our phones. Wasn't no phone being walked around in meetings when we was at that time.
Look, in the room, when they came in the room, I said, "Look, bring all your phones up here to the front. I want everybody's phone up here to the front. I don't care. That way, I don't want to even see. I'll make sure everybody comes in and you got a little spot to put your phone at. And I'm gonna make sure everybody putting their phone in. Now, a kid could have got away with it, bringing a burner phone or something like that up there. I don't know, Nokia or something. But hey, I made it a rule. Listen, we're not gonna do this in the meetings. We can't have phones because man, these jokers text in their pocket. I mean, they can literally send a message with the phone in their pocket. Man, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and now you have the Apple Watch. It's just imagine all those devices and abilities and resources to use to navigate. To reach out to people. I mean, that's the name of the game right now, man. Is reaching out to people and being connected. So,
the one thing that I hate and always hated with the NCAA is that. So, for instance, the kid that got caught for doing something in school 10, 5, 20 years ago. But now the kids that are on the team now have to suffer for what they did in the past. So I think they should find a way to either just find the school or find the individual that, that committed the breaking the rule, whatever. So I don't think that the kids on the team nowadays should have to suffer for something that you found out from the past.
Yeah, I don't know about that. All I can attest to is just when I take it back to the times when I played. I remember there was one game where the University of Texas, we were going to play Rice. And John Malkovich, punished the entire team because, the majority of the defense stayed out late. Now, we're from a time where if you stay out late, man, go run laps until the end of practice. So for the next 2 hours, you're going to stay running, doing push-ups and sit-ups. And then when the team comes together for the team breakdown, that's when you get off that punishment. I know then how we were punished back then is that there was at least, out of the 11 players, we had at least, I know all of our starting secondary, at least outside of one guy, all were suspended. We also had D linemen. We also had linebackers. So close to probably 7 of our starters and 2 of our main offensive starters that made 9 actually got suspended for that particular game. We went in to play Rice, a team that we've always won, always beat. They don't have the ability to even, to play against us, and we got beat. We went into their home field, and we actually got beat. So I don't know exactly how guys are necessarily getting punished these days.
No, I'm talking about the other way, Priest. I'm talking about like if I was to receive a gift, if I was to come out and admit that when my time in Nebraska, I received this gift, I got these tattoos, I got this type of money, and so the NCAA is finding the school. It's not finding the school, but it's punishing the kids on the school in school nowadays with you can't play in a bowl game now.
Oh wow, I got you.
We're removing this amount of scholarships from your team. So that's the rule that I hate. So just because of what somebody did in the past, you have to punish these kids nowadays. They can't. We've worked our asses off to get to where we are right now. We're going to go play in this national championship game, but because somebody got caught and it came out to the public, social media, now we have to suffer a post-game banment or scholarships because of what they did in the past.
Yeah, well, we saw that with USC, and I know that was definitely highlighted. Closer to the time that we played, we saw exactly how they went back to really, lay out some really, really tough restrictions on some of the players, and Heisman trophies were given back, and so with that being the place now, I think it is unfortunate, for past dealings for coaches or players that have done stuff, then for it to be, the punishment for current players and a current team. But it's one of those things that's really tough. I mean, where does the punishment come from? It's got to go somewhere. Somebody has to, the punishment has to be made. You find the school, significant fine. Whoever the individual is, you find them. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but I just don't think you take it out on the kids that are on the team now, though. Well,
that had nothing to do with it.
So let's see if you were to find the schools. We also know that the larger, bigger schools, power schools, they generate the most money, and even all of your small schools that are all a part of these different groups, they also benefit from the monies that come from big schools. When you even look at your historical Black colleges, they're benefiting from the larger schools that bring in the most money with their sports athletics. And so, it's like dominoes. You're saying find the school, but really at the end of the day, who is really getting fined and who's really suffering the most? Is it really that particular school, or is it, the groups as a whole? Because we know that money is always shared, and it could go really down the line. And so I guess they have to find some type of means to make it make sense. And so, it is unfortunate of what happens to kids, man, because you can have some very talented kids, man, having an opportunity to really make a career for themselves, and for something like that to happen during their particular year, where now they're not on TV, they're not able to play in a bowl game and be featured, that definitely is a terrible situation. But, that's the reason why they got the one-time transfer now. So you jump in that portal and you take your tail to somewhere else. I'm out.
The whole team gone.
Yeah, the whole team gone, So, the game is really changing. It's giving, obviously, it's giving college athletes an opportunity to, make some decisions for themselves. Hopefully they're getting the right advice. Like you said, we're going to see more and more agents popping up. We're trying to represent these kids because the power is the dollar, right? And now it's accessible for all these kids now to be looked at as, it never really changed. I mean, we've always known as an athlete, I think we each have known that as much as we love the game, we were a commodity at the end of the day. And we were a part of a larger system, a larger business, and the bottom line was their bottom line. And so, as much as we like football and understand the game we're very passionate about, we've been in a business much longer than we even thought when we were in college football. And the business was in front of us, and we might have been just only thinking football, but business was going on. So, hopefully these kids can kind of get that understanding. But I tell you what, it's going to be very difficult for them to get that understanding, because when you look at this device right here, man, it consumes our this generation. It consumes our kids. Yeah. And, it's funny that we say this, and just kind of getting off of football. My daughter, she actually was going in to get her driving license, right? So we were there to do the driving license test. My phone died as I was going in there. I couldn't access. And so in order for me to get her to be able to get her driving license, I needed to have proof of a bill from my house, a water bill, cable bill, anything like that. Now, I showed them my ID, not good enough. I told them, here's paperwork that I had. They said, no, it can't be more than 3 months old, and it can't be more, and it has to be less than 30 days. So it was one of those questions where there was nothing that I had on me that fit what that requirement was. And when I tried to get into my phone, I tried to use my daughter's phone to get in my phone, but you can't get in your phone because you got to be able to get to your own email to look at, the code. So it just shows me, man, just how powerful this device has become and how instrumental it is to even our kids' success. And so what we once thought was just, it's a phone, we text, and try to communicate with someone, man. It's the lifeline, man, of this year's generation of kids. And so it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be very difficult, man, to just take those kids' focus on what the main thing should be, whether they're going into school for the first time, whether they're going into the NFL. And like I said, those challenges that they have with social media, it's just really, really tough. So
sorry to say, man, it's probably to their detriment, to be honest with you. I mean, like when you sit there and think about engaging, like you said, with some of the fans, and then we've seen how some guys, fight back with fans, right? So what do? You got to turn it off. At some point, there's got to be a balance. And so kind of looking at like all the things that happened over the course when they had the Olympics, right? Where, people were talking about mental illness and I couldn't do things, Simone Biles and all these things. And everybody was just excoriating her, for her decision. What she was like, look, I have agency on my own body. This is what I want to be able to do. I've represented the United States. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but also too, what it did is it opened up a whole slew of people just come down on her, right? And just made matters worse. And the thing is, there's got to be a balance. And I think part of it is, you know, you were talking about like how do you punish, you know, kids now dealing with this thing. You got to inject a culture where kids understand it coming into, you know, college, of saying, look, here's the rules when we come in. Anybody that kind of bucks that, it's got to go. I'm sorry, it can't be that way, and it's got to be no nonsense. I mean, it really has. I mean, because if you don't hold kids accountable to what you tell them to do, then guess what? Yeah, they're going to be just kind of buck wild and do whatever they want to do, right? I mean, you know, these guys, they're still young. These young minds still be in shape. But like you said, this device that's telling them everything and telling them, oh man, you know, shoot, even adults, you know, oh man, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And everybody, oh, I believe it. And, you know, you get into it. So that just, it just absolutely, and we've seen this world where it is and where it's kind of taking us, and the bad part of it is the part I really cannot stand. I really hate. I just think that sometimes it's just got to have a better mind to just control these things as much as we can. And it starts at home. It's got to start at home. Can't, you know, they ain't gonna do it at school. You know, you can't, you know, college definitely ain't gonna do it. So I used to see guys all the time, Priest. I'll tell you what, I seen dudes put on their Facebook. We had to tell them, man, you got like blunts out here. You can't, like, what are you doing? Like, you understand, your family has like access to your account. They can, like, we see this. And so, you know, sometimes it's just teaching them, like, look, never put anything out here that you want your parents to see, right? It's going to, you know, embarrass your family, your school, or you. You don't want to put anything like that out there. And so, I mean, it's just tough, man. It's a tough generation. Like you said, every generation has its challenges. So,
well, I'll tell you what, man, I sure wish that device was back when we were playing. Man, I still got a couple of pictures with my shirt taken off, man. I still want to get out there, you know. I'd have been the first one, boy. Oh, shirt coming off.
Buddy.
I had the shirt off. You talk about running around the Chiefs Stadium in a chariot. But I had that shirt off. Hey, so I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. He said, "Man,
had that shirt off on my pool table that one night."
Hey, see, look. Don't be bringing it up. Hey, so I was talking to a buddy of mine, man, and they said, "Man, you're gonna be out there getting a chance to beat the drum. You know, you're gonna do anything different." And I said, man, I got to go online. Let me see, you know, who's done it before me. And Jared, I had a chance to see Jared. He was beating on the drum. I think Tech Nine, you know, obviously not a football player, but he was beating on the drum. And I think Deron Cherry had an opportunity. And they said, man, Priest, what are you going to do different? I said, man, I'm taking my shirt off, man. I'm taking my shirt off. I'm head of the thing. We chopping wood when I get up in there. And they said, Clark going to be like, man, hold up. What did Priest say on that live? What did he say on that podcast with JD and with Marcus? Oh, no, hold on. We got to make sure he got his shirt on. I said, oh, that's why y'all put that jersey on all them people when they start beating that drum. That jersey be so tight they can't get it off.
Oh, no, I think Grunhard took his off.
Did he really?
Yeah, he ripped it.
Did he really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't, Grunny didn't stole the show, man. So I guess taking off the shirt is off my list. I probably can't do that, man. I might have me a little Superman shirt underneath and make the Clark Kent style, you know what I mean? Rip it off with Superman and shit. They said, man, the only thing you better make sure you do is you better be on beat when you start hitting that drum. You're going to embarrass your whole family. You don't come on.
You ain't lying.
I don't know. I had to guess. I'm sure your body and Grundy's body look different. I'm pretty sure of that. So, you know, it might be something you still need to do, man. You still might need to.
I have had a rough opportunity, man. I've had the harsh reality to understand that father time, man. You can't beat them. You can't beat them. You can't outrun them. You can't hide and wait for a better day. Man, after my 10 years, man, I think it was year 10 where I really started to see some of the incline, you know, when I would go in for that annual checkup. And I started to say, man, you know, how is this possible when I played a career, I've lifted weights the majority of my year, but it just seemed like on year 10, man, my body started to decline. And it wasn't by choice, and it wasn't by just eating bad or bad habits. it was just one of those things that I couldn't control, and I had the harsh reality to understand that, yeah, you once was a great or a phenomenal athlete and played alongside other incredible athletes. But, as you age, man, you start to understand that the body does all the stuff and the work that we put in is continually taking a toll on us, man. So it's just one of those things that like I said, I continue to, man, wish y'all brothers, man, to stay healthy, stay safe, make some good choices. That's what I tell my kids. I say, man, as soon as I leave the house, I say, man, will y'all please make some good choices? Just some good choices and some good decisions today. And then sure enough, man, attendance office calling me saying, man, your student has been absent for the last 2 classes. You know what I'm saying? I told her, I said, baby, what about them good choices I asked you to make? She said, well, I didn't feel like going to class because we had a test. I said, what do you mean we had a test? She said, well, that was time for me to call mama so I can go back to the house.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. So boy, they said, you think there's things we used to do, we only did, but our kids, they're a split image of us, man. And some of those things, some of those good things we pass on to them, obviously, but some of those bad things we pass on to them. And yeah, I got some youngers, boy. They something else, boy. I got a daughter, man. She know the system so well that there's no child left behind. At the end of the semester, they get a chance to make up all their work. There's been a year when my daughter decided, you know what, I'm just not going to do no work for the whole year.
Oh, wow.
And sure enough, when it came to the very end of the year, she got that opportunity to be able to make up all the work for the year. And not only have I seen that just on the personal side, but I've also seen that with other parents' kids. It's just something, man, just how smart and intelligent, man, these kids are. And like, we talked about the cell phone, and we talked about resources and opportunities for kids, man. These kids are so smart, man. And it's just a matter of them just focusing on the opportunities that they have in front of them, because they swim in opportunities these days. They swim in information. They swim in information. It's a matter of them taking a toll on that. So, it's just one of those things where, man, I continue to, enjoy where I'm at in life, continue to help people here locally in the community. I still get a chance to go up to Kansas City and participate in some of the functions there, like I'm going to be doing here in a few days. But I can tell you what, man, when y'all create platforms like this, give us an opportunity to talk shop and, talk football and tell stories about the past, man, and engage and have a little fun, man. It speaks volumes. So I'm just wishing y'all success and continued success, man, on what y'all are doing.
Yeah, you know what? This show has been a blessing for me. I was telling the guys, I think I brought it up many times because, like, this whole CTE stuff is real. The whole mental struggles is real. This show has been a blessing, man, because I get to, log on with these guys every week, reminisce about a lot of what I have no clue I went through my career, because I forget so much. I don't remember a whole lot, but I get to chime in and listen to so much of what they have to share, and it kind of takes me back in time to go back through things that I was really a part of. And it's, we were all blessed to have played in the NFL for so long. You know what? And again, I'm just thankful that these guys have created the show. I'm a part of it every week. And once again, I'm glad we had you on tonight.
Yeah, you talk about that, man. We keep going on and on, man. I appreciate the platform to be able to do that. But man, you talk about forgetting things, boy. I'm right there with you, E. I'm right there with you. Man, if it's some keys, a wallet, some glasses, man, you might as well go ahead and know you're gonna make some money off of me, because I'm losing all 3 of them. So I'm constantly always misplacing something, and it's one of those things where, I thought I placed it here, I thought I had it on the shelf here. Man, the keys are still in the truck, so it's one of those things that, I even deal with on a daily basis. You want to say, you want to say that age isn't the thing that's changing you, but it really is, man. But, we had some great experiences. And, like I said, I always tell guys, man, to continue to, utilize those benefits that you receive through the union. There's tons of ways to stay engaged, mental, Don, you had mentioned this, JD, you had mentioned this about mental health and mental awareness, and, there's a such thing called a mental performance coach. Mental health is key. And I think that that's something that at times we take for granted. A situation that can happen from one player, even on the football field, a player could have an injury, a player could have not, a player could have an issue with fumbling the ball, and to one player, it doesn't bother them the way it bothers another player. And now we're starting to see what mental health is and what it looks like. And now that is the hot topic that, is going around the country right now. So it's very key. I think a therapist is always important to have. So it's one of those things that I think kids need to know is comfortable. And it's good to hear former players talk about, engaging with a therapist, or I work with a therapist, to work with things that I just want to maybe just unload. I want to download my information. I got so much going on, or I've been through certain difficult situations, or, I'm facing COVID and I have issues going on within my family structure, or, this death of how this has impacted our family. It's always a good time to download. And I think what y'all have been able to discover is, man, y'all podcast is an opportunity to give guys an opportunity to download. So you never know, man, the guys that y'all get on this show, man, the things that they may be having heavy on their heart, man, you give them a chance to open up and download some information to y'all. And, you may change a decision that they may have, that they may be contemplating, man. And so it's big because you never know what a person is going through, until you're able to, talk with them. I had this thing where they always talked about, the silver lining. A lot of people love to put the silver lining on things. And what I mean by that is they always like to say, things where they're talking about a situation. So, you have somebody that is going through something, a lot of times you have two different types of people that are ready to assist. Somebody's down and having something that's going on that's really detrimental, or they need to share, they have a lot of anxiety, they're having a lot of stress. A lot of times you have a guy that's on the ladder, but the guy that's on the ladder, he walks down the ladder, comes and gets on the same level of that person, and he tells them, hey, I'm glad that you told me about that situation. There's nothing I can do, but I'm here for you and I can help you if there's an opportunity. Then you have the guy that's up there at the top of the ladder. He looking down in the hole and he says, hey, you want a sandwich? You know what I mean? So you got guys that look at the situation in so many different ways. You have the guy that will come off the ladder and get on your level and help you when it comes to mental health. And then you have the person that just says, hey, you want a sandwich? Hey, you want a sandwich? They don't really look at your problem. So I think, what we need to, continue to communicate to kids is that we got to come down to their level and work with them. And we can't always just do the quick fix. We're trying to address the symptoms. You really just need to address the problem, to really make a difference, So, I also got another little tidbit I could tell you. I talked about the silver lining. You have an opportunity where, let's say this is a pregnant woman, right? And this is and it's one lady that has a baby, and there's one lady that doesn't have one. And the lady says, you know what? I can't have a child. I have all this anxiety. I can't have any more kids. And then the lady that says, that's her friend, says, well, at least the child you do have is an A student. And I think that we see that a lot of times in life where we're always put the silver lining on people's situations. We always give them the at least. A person's going through something, and instead of really just focusing on the problem that they have in hand, we always says, well, at least just your oldest son is in the league, you know what I mean, and not dealing with the situation that they have. At least y'all have a 2-story home. I got a 1-story home, so at least you have that. And I think a lot of times we don't take enough time to really step on the same level of people and work with them the way we need to, man. But like I said, y'all have given another beautiful platform. I know we're talking all over the place, man. We didn't talk about sports. We didn't talk about NCAA. We didn't talk about
just like the Black Baptist Church. You just go on and on and on.
We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about the rental car with the magical keys that just went around the whole locker room for about a whole semester. We didn't talk about everything. And then, but the thing that kind of brought us together today is of course the Chiefs, man. And I see you there, JD, representing that KC hat. Also, Marcus, I see you right there representing with the bobbleheads. Tyreek Hill. I mean, I can't even speak about how I enjoy watching him play. Just to see an individual be able to get to that top speed that fast. I've seen him run those deep 9 routes where the DB was 15 yards off of him. And by the time Tyreek Hill got up on his toes, he ended up passing him another 10 yards, incredible speed. And then, one of the best plays that I like that they team up and do is when you send Tyreek Hill across the field, like the deep back of the end zone. And it's just a crossing route. but it gives Mahomes the opportunity to play the right side all day long. Tyreek Hill is running across field, and then here comes a bomb across the field. Man, I think that's one of the easiest plays for them to be able to take advantage of any defense. And then, of course, you've seen Kelce across the middle.
Yeah.
Put him on a drag about 5 or 6, 10 yards deep, send him on a drag, let him kiss the ball, and let him get nasty the way he does, And so, one thing I also noticed, man, Kelce don't dance as much, man. What's up with that? Well, I noticed Kelce really doesn't dance like he used to. He used to give it to us. Now,
Wait. Do you dance as good as you used to?
Well.
Right
Well. He started out dancing. I ain't started out dancing. Towards the end of my career, I tried to dance a little bit when I crossed that goal line. But I do know, man, that they got an exceptional team, man. And they always say speed kills, man. It could hurt you in a good way, and it can hurt you in a bad way. We always talk the good things about our team, but we also have to recognize the other side of the team, and we also know that there was an opportunity last year when they played Tampa Bay Bucks in the Super Bowl. There were a lot of balls that hit our receivers' hands, and they didn't make the big catch when they needed to. And I think what that does is it serves as a platform for film for them to go back and watch. Yeah. And you can learn from those mistakes, man, and it can make them a stronger team. And so hopefully they've taken not only all of the praises and accolades that they've been given, but also went back and watched some film, because we always know the guy who's watching that film is going to make those incremental steps to be a better player. And I think that makes a difference about how they're going to approach this game. And then, of course, man, when you got a guy that just making Whataburgers, pop up all over the city, that ain't a bad thing. We all getting the Whataburger special number 7.
Hey, when you getting paid $500 million, you can do that.
Yeah, you sure can, man. So that's just a wonderful time. Even to be able to be a part of a team, to experience that type of success and have a player of that caliber, to be part of us, part of us, man. He wears that same helmet we wore and puts on that jersey the same way that we did, man. And we know the same way he ties his cleats. That's the same way we used to tie our cleats. So there's nothing different, but it is something special to say what he's been able to accomplish, man. So he's got all of our support, man. And we know he's a winner. And what they always say about them Texas guys. You know what they say about them Texas guys? We got something special down here in Texas, man.
Y'all got big heads. That's it.
Yeah. So we doing a really good thing, man. And my mom, man, just came by the house, man. She coming in here to say hello to me, man. But yeah, man, this has been a great time, man. So like I said, man, any more questions y'all got for me?
No, we good, man. We appreciate you coming on. We don't want to keep you on it much longer.
Appreciate it. Hey, please tell your mother hello for us too, man.
Yes, sir.
And allowing you to come on the show, come talk to us, man. Just want to let you know, Priest, man, good seeing you, man. I love you, brother. All right, I love you.
Okay, hold on. Let me let y'all say hi to my mom. Mom, come on in here. Put your head down here. My mom like, man, what y'all doing in here? Yeah, you come sit right here. You kind of get cameras right here, so you kind of just come sit next to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello there. Happy New Year.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Mrs. Morris. We call her Nana. This is Nana.
Nana, Happy New Year.
Oh, thank you. Happy New Year to everyone.
And then one other thing, guys, y'all may not know this, but my son, Jacobin, y'all would have seen him. He was much younger back then. My second oldest son. Man, I got a new name. I'm a grandfather now, man. They call me Pop Pop. You know what I mean? That's I got a cool name. Pop Pop.
I see you, Pop Pop.
Yeah, you got Pop Pop and Priest Holmes and 3-1 all in one. Yeah, so I'm a grandfather, man. So I'm really excited about that. And it's been a blessing. So yeah, I appreciate y'all having us on this podcast.
Yeah, I love it, man. Y'all have a beautiful night.
All right.
Okay.
Nice being you, Priest. Nice being you.
God bless everybody.
God bless you too. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you all too.
All right, fellas.
Thanks for tuning into Chief Concerns, presented by BetOnline. We will see you next week.